Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining today's session. I am Michaela Peck from the Office of Distance Learning. I trust everyone is able to hear me. If you're able to hear me, can you just say yes in the chat? Okay. All right. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, perfect. So in today's session, we will be looking at the assignment activity and the group and grouping feature. All right, but before we begin, I just want to thank everybody for joining today's session. As I mentioned earlier, I am Michaela Peck from the Office of Distance Learning. We're also joined by Mrs. Kamla Anderson, who is the Instructional Design Specialist within the Office of Distance Learning.
Good afternoon, colleagues.
All right. Okay. All right. So if you have been following the schedule sent out by the broadcaster, you will have realized that we sent out a schedule probably a couple of weeks ago highlighting the different training sessions to come. All right, there's been a slight change in that in terms of the days and the times, and we will continue to issue said schedule through the UTech broadcaster. The change comes because lecturers mention from time to time that they have classes at a particular day and time. So essentially, what we're trying to do is to conduct the training sessions to best accommodate as much lectures as possible. All right. All training sessions as well are recorded. Okay. So what that basically means is that we have a space that we use to house the different recordings for each session. It's a good opportunity as well to segue into the fact that we have the training online module. So for each training session that you take, we have a training module online that speaks to that. So for example, we have a basic training online module, which I will demonstrate shortly. We have the online intermediate training module as well as the advanced, so three different levels. A couple weeks ago, we looked at the basic training module. Last week before last week, we covered different segments or different sections of the intermediate, and we have the advanced to come. Today's training session that looks at the assignment activity and the group and grouping feature is actually also a part of the intermediate training module. All right, and I'm just going to do a quick demonstration of what the training modules look like. It's a beautiful way to test your knowledge of what you have learned within the different training sessions. It allows you to practice the actually action what you have learned as it relates to course creation. So you get to create your own course, you get to add resources, add activities, and so on. Once you have successfully completed each unit of each training, a badge is released to you. All right. And if you complete each training session, each online training module rather in its entirety, you receive a certificate of completion. So I am initiating the share screen feature. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you what all three sessions look like. You should be able to see my page now. Okay, so this is the basic training module. It looks at initializing a course. Unit 2 looks at creating visibility as an online facilitator, Moodle course modification, course population at the different levels, and at the end there's a review which has the survey and certificate of completion once you have successfully completed all units. If it is that you're not seeing any of the online training modules on your dashboard, it means that you probably were not enrolled. We're trying to sort out a process of automatic enrollment, but for now, you just have to email us and indicate that you're not seeing the training modules on your dashboard, and we will definitely add you. Can either email myself, Michaela Peck, or Mrs. Kamla Anderson. All right, so that's the basic training module. We have the intermediate, all right, and this is what that looks like. We have Unit 1, which covers tools for collaboration, communication, engagement. We have Unit 2, which looks at tools for content presentation and knowledge acquisition. This is the one that we looked at in our last training session. All right, we have Unit 3, which looks at creating richer content in Moodle using the interactive content H5P tool. And we have Unit 4, which looks at the assessment tool in Moodle, and that is assignment, and it also looks at creation of groups and creation of groupings from the groups. All right, and then we have future sessions to come, which looks at Turnitin, ensuring originality in your students' work. We have a session to come that looks at the grade book, initializing and setting up a quiz troubleshooting, and thereafter we will have the advanced training, which is conducted by Mrs. Kamla Anderson. Okay, so our focus, as mentioned earlier, is here on Unit 4. We're looking at the assignment tool. Okay, so I'm gonna ask, has anybody used the assignment tool before? Just indicate for me. Probably I should have told you as well earlier. If it is that you wish to speak, bottom center of your screen, there are four icons, right? We have the profile icon, we have the mic icon. If you wish to speak, you click on that. We have the video icon, we have the raise hand feature. So how it works is that if you do wish to speak, I'm going to ask that you raise your hand. I will acknowledge and you click on the audio bar to speak. If you prefer to use the chat, that is fine. Bottom right of your screen is a purple icon. It is called the Collaborate panel. Once you click on it, the panel pops out, and the first icon you will see represents a chat bubble. You click on that to speak. All right. Okay. All right. I'm seeing Dr. Barrett. I think she raised her hand. Dr. Andrea Barrett.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted us to raise our hand if we have, you know.
Used the assignment before. Assignment. Okay, so you're indicating that you have. Okay. All right. Has anybody else used the assignment tool? So only Dr. Barrett alone has used the assignment feature? Okay, Miss Fishley. All right, Miss Fishley, can I ask you to tell me how did you use this tool in Moodle? Was it beneficial for you? Miss Fishley or Dr. Barrett? Anyone can say.
Well, so far, I've just used it for them to upload their tutorial sheets. So I've not gone into the back end yet to pull down anything or anything like that. It was just for the upload. So I've not gone onto the back end to do the other part of the process.
Okay, which is providing them with feedback.
Right, correct.
Okay. All right. So thanks for that. Dr. Barrett, I'm seeing your mic is enabled.
Well, I was just going to respond, but you got a response, so I don't
No,
know.
man, go ahead. You can share your experience as well.
Well, I used it to one host the assignment, to monitor the submission of the assignments based on the date and time. I also use some of the grading features, which I'm not so comfortable with that. So hopefully over time I'll get some more exposure and experience with that. But also and the grade book. So I collaborate or should I say integrate the grade book with the assignments. And so once I've graded, the grade automatically get posted to the grade book and prorate it accordingly.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing so much. Okay. All right. So for those of us who are less aware of the assignment tool, just to break it down, it's really a tool that allows you as a facilitator to communicate tasks to your students. So What happens is that the students' work can be submitted as an attachment, or they can type the word as text, as online text, directly into Moodle. Okay. Of course, when students upload, so you get to decide how you want your students to submit. You have the option of selecting that you want them to upload as an attachment. This could be a Word document, PDF document, could be a PowerPoint document, and of course, other file types are supported, which we'll look at shortly. If it is that you only want them to type, you have the option of selecting the online text feature. And the beauty about this is that once students submit their assignment, and you check the assignment tool, you'll see a count of submissions received. Okay, submission can also be done in groups. You're able to click on the count and you'll be able to see individual students who have made their submission, and whatever their submission is, you're able to view all of that. Okay, now the first thing that we need to do, as usual, we're working in the Moodle training course. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to turn editing on. So top right of your course, remember to add any activity, any resource, you click on this option. You scroll to the section of your course that you want to add the assignment to. Click on add an activity or resource, and the assignment tool is actually starred because I starred it. To star a tool, so basically when you star a tool, it means that this is one that you use frequently, so you'd have to be searching the activities or resources area to use it. All right, so I think somebody's mic is enabled. I'm hearing. Okay, Dr. Barrett, I think your mic is still on. Okay, thanks. All right, so if I want to star, let's say the chat feature, there's a star beside it. I simply click on the star and it shows in my star. So I'd have to be searching, the list of activities or resource to find a frequently used activity or resource. Now, something I always point out about Moodle, another good thing about it is that it's kind of hard for you to get lost. Moodle has a lot of help icons for any activity or resource that you select, even before you select it. So let's say the assignment. If I wanted to find more information, find out more information about the assignment, or if I see a tool here, I'm not sure what it is for, I simply click on the icon for more information, and it tells me what it is. So here it's saying that the assignment activity enables the teacher to communicate tasks, collect work, and provide grades and feedback. Students can submit any digital content, such as word process documents, spreadsheets, images, audio, video clips. Alternatively, or in addition, the assignment may require students to type text directly into the text editor. An assignment can be used to remind students of real-world assignments they need to complete offline, such as artwork, and does not require any digital content. Students can submit work individually or as a member of a group, as mentioned earlier. When reviewing assignments, the teacher can leave feedback comments and upload files, such as marked up student submissions, documents with comments, or spoken audio feedback. And assignments can be graded using a numerical or custom scale, or a rubric, which is more of an advanced grading method. And of course, as Dr. Barrett mentioned, the final grades are recorded in the gradebook. Okay, so I'm simply going to click bottom right to add. All right, and throughout the session, if you have any questions at all, kindly raise your hand. I'll acknowledge and you take the mic. And if you prefer to use the chat, that is an option as well. All right, Miss Fishley, I'm seeing that you have raised your hand. You can go ahead and take the mic.
Right. Since you mentioned it, I'll just ask. For example, one of my courses, the tutorials are not necessarily a part of the final grade. So is it that I can give feedback without it going to the grade book?
Well, once a gradebook is activated and once the assignment is configured in a way where a grade is going to be received by the student, it's going to go to the grade book. What you can do is to hide it in the grade book. So this is something that we explore every time that we look at the grade book, and it will be explored in a session to come. But it's pretty simple. You go to the grade book and you find that particular assessment or assignment and you just hide it. So it won't go towards the total or final grades for that course.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no problem. And to see that in depth, Miss Fishley, you can go to the intermediate online training module and just look under the section that says gradebook. There's a recording for that session that details the entire process.
Sorry,
Okay, thanks.
Miss Peck, in your response just now to the question that was raised by Miss Fishley, you said that if you don't want to see the grade, if the grade doesn't need to be reflected in the final compilation of the grades, what do you need to do?
Hmm.
I missed that.
Right, so you go into the gradebook, you find that assessment or assignment, and you hide it.
Okay,
Right,
okay,
so once you hide the grade, it won't be a part of the final grades for the course.
okay.
Okay, all right, so remember to disable mic after you're through. Okay, so assignment. So I'm gonna call this test assignment for the purpose of today's session. Okay, and it's the regular for all activities for all resources we have to fill out an electronic form. In the description box, it's typically advised that you let students know what the assignment instructions are. Okay, so here I would advise that you leave the instructions for your students. Okay, your instructions does not have to be text. You can get a bit more creative. Here it allows you to record audio. Okay, so if you click on record audio, you click on start recording, you may get a prompt to allow, you enable, and you start recording. It allows you 2 minute snippets. Okay, you stop recording, you can play back the recording. If you're not satisfied, you can record again. If you are, you can attach recording. You can also video. All right, so it doesn't have to be the regular dull and boring text. Additionally, you can upload additional files to support your instructions to students. So let's say you wanted to add probably um, a rubric, even though there's another way to add a rubric, which we'll look at shortly. You can use the additional files option to attach that here. Now, further down, we have the option for availability dates. When is this assignment opened? So once you have selected the opening date, that means that you are allowing submissions from this date and time. By default, of course, the system will record today's date. So it's opened. I'm going to put it opened midday. And this has to be enabled for you to be able to change anything here. So you realize I'm clicking, nothing can change. But once I click on enable, then I'm able to change the date and time. The due date, this basically allows you to record when the student's assignment is due. Okay, by default, Moodle gives a week, so from the 22nd to the 29th. All right, so I'm just going to change the time here and cutoff date. All right, does anybody know what the difference is between a cutoff date and a due date? Anybody want to guess and tell me what they think the difference is between both? The cutoff date feature is kind of new. I mean, I think we have gotten this new feature since our last upgrade. Okay, I'm not sure whose hand went first, but I'm gonna ask Mr. Panther because I realize one of the hands are down. So, Mr. Panther from Skit, would you like to tell us what the difference is between both dates?
Good afternoon, colleagues. For the
Good afternoon.
due date, that would be the date given when the students are expected to turn in the assignment. The cutoff date may be a sort of grace period that the lecturer allows the students, just in case there are issues like technical difficulties at the point where there was a due date. Yeah, so I think that's it.
Okay. Okay, thanks for that, Mr. Panther. You are correct. You are indeed correct. Cutoff date doesn't even have to be enabled, but if it is enabled, that means that you are allowing, as Mr. Panther said, a grace period after the due date for students to submit by. So if it is that I have enabled a cutoff date, I could have it for, let's say, the 29th, which is the same day, but I could give a different time. So I could give them up until, let's say, midnight. Right? So what this means is that after the due date, students can still submit, but not after rather midnight of that day. All right. You will know, don't worry, you will know if assignments are submitted late because the system will mark the assignment in red. All right. So it will come in a table, you'll see the assignment marked in red, and it will tell you how late it is. So if it is 10 hours late, 5 hours late, the system will tell you. Okay, and the student as well will know that they have submitted late because the system will tell them as well this assignment is overdue by such and such amount of time. All right, and of course we have the feature of the system reminding you to grade. So let's say you want an alert of when to grade this particular assignment by, you can select. So I'll probably put September or October 1. All right, and it's really up to you as a lecturer. When do you want the system to remind you to grade? All right, and if I have this ticked, this means that all of these dates will show up in the description. All right, if not, then the student will have to click on the assignment to see when it is due. But I'm going to click to show in description so they can visibly take one look at the course page and see this assignment is open, it is due, and this is the cutoff date. Okay, now we're down to submission types. And as I earlier mentioned, with the submission types, you get to choose if you want your students to select online text, to submit online text rather, or file submissions, or to make file submissions. It can be both, or it can be one. With online text, the students can copy and paste from an external program, probably Word, to Moodle, right? With file submission, students can make uploads. So you get to select which one, or if you want to select both, that is up to you. Once online text is submitted, though, the word limit option becomes available. So let's say you don't want students to submit online text of more than 1,000 words. You can enter that there. All right, and they will be able to see that this is the amount of words they can type. And once they start typing, the system will show them as well how many words they have left to type. Okay. Now, maximum number of uploaded files, this has to do with the amount of files you are allowing them to submit. You have up to 20. I will just select one for now. All right. And of course, you can also specify the submission size for the upload. The site upload limit is 5 gigabyte. So we're going to let that stay at 5 GB for each student. All right. And then, as I had mentioned earlier, you get as well to select the accepted file types if it is that you're allowing students to upload a file. So if I click on choose, the choose button here, if you don't want to limit them as to the file type, you can select all file types. All right. If it is that you only want, let's say, audio files, you can select audio files. If you're only allowing document files, you get to select document files. So if you scroll down, it's quite an extensive list. You get to filter down and to select the file type that you are allowing your students to submit. Okay. Now we have feedback types here. And by default, the system has selected feedback comments, which, as the name suggests, you get to enter the comments, feedback comments to your students. And you can always click on the little question marks that I mentioned earlier if you feel as though you don't know what a particular field is asking of you. Annotate PDF. So this is where the student would have to upload a document as a PDF file, and you as a lecturer get to mark up, to highlight, to create drawings and text on their assignment submission. Okay, and we have the offline grading worksheet. So this is basically where the teacher is able to download and upload a worksheet with the students' grade when they're marking the assignments. So the system has a worksheet that you can download, fill it in, and then upload it back to the system. We have, all right, we have a hand raised here. Dr. Barrett, go ahead.
Just for
Doc.
clarification here. Yeah, just for clarification. The annotate PDF. So the assumption here is that the assignment would have been submitted in a PDF form, right?
Has to be, yes.
Right. And so we can access that PDF document and add our comments to it. Is that
That's correct.
okay? And the feedback comment section would be, will it be the same as when you're doing the grade to enter the grade, there's always a feedback comments part. Is
Like a
that,
box.
yeah, is that what,
Right.
and also because I've noticed, is there a limit or should I say a character or word limit to that feedback comment? And
Okay.
similarly for the annotate, when the box or dialog box comes up with the annotated PDF thing, is there a limit as to the amount of words or characters that you can use?
Okay, so I don't know of a limit, but if there's one, the system would tell you in the little dialog box. But I've never seen one before.
Okay.
If the box does come up small, you have the option bottom right to pull it. A little 2 point arrow comes up and it allows you to pull the box out if you feel as though you need more space to type. But in terms of a word limit, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so, and so might be a kind of a stupid question, but if the student, because though you sometimes give them instruction to submit documents in PDF, some of the smarter students, if I would say that, continuously, repeatedly submit in Word. Can you annotate a Word document?
No, you can't annotate a Word document. So what will happen? Let's say you give them open accepted file type. So they're uploading PDFs, PowerPoints, Word documents. You'll realize that you're only able to annotate their submission if it is a PDF document. The Word document will not show up. No other document type will show up but the PDF. So it has to be a PDF document. In order for you to access their assignment, if uploaded as Word or PowerPoint or otherwise, you have to download it to your computer to view. But the annotate PDF option will open their assignment once it's a PDF document, and then you are now able to make your markup on their assignment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Dr. Barrett. Okay, and then finally we have feedback files, which is the last option. So this is enabled. The facilitator is able to upload files with feedback when marking the assignment submission. So um, these four features, I mean, you can explore them individually if you wish to. The system ticks these two because I would say they're probably the easiest ones to use. But if it is that you're using the annotate PDF option, I would say if you prefer to use this option, rather, I would say select accepted file types to the PDF and let your students know as well that they should submit as a PDF if it is that you wish to use this particular option. All right. And
Um,
saving, I mean, a file as a PDF, it's not difficult. The student will do their assignment in Word and then save as PDF and then they'll be able to upload. All right, I think we have another hand. Dr. Barrett, go ahead.
can you just, I think I missed what you said on the third option, offline, something. If you could just bring it up.
The offline grading
Yes,
worksheet.
yes, yes, please. If you could
Right.
just,
So this,
I'm sorry to
yeah,
just,
man. Yeah, sure. So what it does, it allows you to download a worksheet. So this is one that the system creates. It allows you to download it and then to upload. So once you have entered whatever comments and grades you're giving to the students, you can then re-upload it to the system when you're marking their assignments.
and this is for individual students or for the larger group of students
It
in a
doesn't
class?
matter. It doesn't
Okay,
matter. So it can be for individual students. It could be for group submissions. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. So we're gonna move down now to we're on to submission settings. Okay. So under submission settings, it says, do you want to create a submit button? So if a submit button is created, this means that the students will be able to click the submit button to upload. If there is none, once the student has submitted their assignment, they'll only see a save button. All right. We have another option. I'm going to click yes for this. We have another option. Do you want to require that students accept the submission statement? With the submission statement, it basically allows for students to be accountable. So it is saying to the student, it's a little statement that says, this is my own work. All right, I don't remember what the statement says word for word. So it's basically an accountability statement. The student agreeing that this is their work that they have done, that they are submitting. And then we have the option of additional attempts. So with additional attempts, you get to decide if you want students to be able to submit multiple times, or automatically until pass if it is that you have set up a grade to pass, or if you only want them to submit once, you can click on never. All right, so there are no additional attempts after the first submission. Okay. Now we're down to group, still on submission, but down to group submission settings. Now, do you want to allow your students to submit in groups? Okay, so I know that with how the ISAS and Moodle integration is at current, the groups are automatically created by the system with the different occurrences and the different lecturers assigned to their respective occurrences. For most courses, that is basically how it is. What I want to demonstrate in today's session, which we'll look at shortly, is how you can actually, because a lot of lecturers have the concern of selecting the group options, but then um, every other lecturer's or facilitators group can access your assignment or any other resource or activity you upload. So we want to look at how we can actually prevent that, where it's only your students in your group that gets access to submitting to your forum, your assignments, or any other activity. All right, or even to view a resource, for example, a PDF or lecture notes that you upload. So what we're going to select for now, student submitting groups, we're going to click on yes. Okay, and um, Mr. Damit, you can go ahead, sir. You can enable your mic and speak. Doc, are you here?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I am. Go ahead.
Yeah, I heard that you are saying that ISAS and Moodle is now integrated. That's what you said?
That's correct.
All right. So that means the grades that I have in Moodle will automatically transfer to ISAS.
Mrs. Anderson, can you speak to that? If the grades are automatically transferred to ISAS? Not to my knowledge.
No, but I think that's when that's what I was about to say, because I think when you make reference to integration, that is how it's coming across. So it's not currently
Mm-hmm.
integrated. Yeah, we were trying that for the
All
block
right,
work
so
project. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Because this
So we
was
speak
an
about
burning, yeah, this was an burning issue for last 10, 15 years or more.
right. All right.
Well, I do know
Let
though
me
that there is a ISAS is supposed to be integrated later on this semester. So it's a possibility that with the new feature that may be a possibility, but with the current version of ISAS that we have, that integration is not going to work.
All right. Thank you
Right,
very
so
much.
let me create more clarity for other persons who are in the session and might be lost as well. So when I say there's an integration, what this means is that in terms of students registering, so once they register online for a particular module or they enroll to the module, um, what happens is that they would have access to their courses within UTech Online without having to self-enroll or without us having to manually enroll them. Because of that automatic integration with both systems. All right, so nothing to do with grades just yet, hopefully for future, but not at current. All right, so I hope that's a little bit clearer for us. Okay, So students submit in groups. If it is that you want for that to happen, you can select yes. Do you want to require a group to make submissions? So what this basically means, if this is enabled, persons who are not members of a group, they will not be able to make a submission to this assignment. All right. Do you want to require all group members to submit? If it is yes, and it is groups, that means that all members of group A or members of group B assigned to this particular assignment have to submit. If no, then one person from each group can make a submission which will be sufficient for their respective groups. Okay, and grouping for student groups. So currently it says none. So this is the feature that we're going to be using to place our groups for our occurrences within groupings to allow for the system to give access to those students only. All right. So what are groupings? Since we're here, let's talk about it. Groupings are groups of groups. Okay. The system allows you to have groups and then it allows you to have groupings. So when you create a grouping, you're basically putting groups into other groups manually created by you. We're going to look at that shortly. Okay, so for now, there's no groupings are in the course because none was created. So that is what it looks like. Okay. Now, down to notifications. Do you want to be notified about submissions that your students make? All right, as a grader, that's what the system calls the teacher or the facilitator. Do you want to be notified about submissions? Yes or no? This is up to you. What will happen is that you'll get an email to say that John Brown has submitted their assignment. Do you want to be notified about late submissions? So, sorry, with this particular option, it's really up to you because whether or not you're notified, when you get onto the system to mark the student's assignment, the system is going to show you in red that that particular submission from that respective student is late. So it's really up to you. Okay. All right, so we have the most important options highlighted. We're just going to scroll down quickly to grade because you can enter grade to pass. You can select a grading category if it is that the gradebook is configured to reflect such that will be looked at in the gradebook uh, training session that we have to come. I can't tell you which date it is, but it will be released in the broadcast about the grade categories where you create different folders for housing different assessments. So let's say you have 5 assignments in the course. You create a big folder called assignments and you categorize all assignments in that folder in the gradebook. So if you had categories in the gradebook or folders in the gradebook, they would be listed here. Currently uncategorized because there is no category in this particular course. And then grade to pass, of course, you can enter what the grade is that the student needs to receive in order to pass this assignment. Are you allowing for anonymous submissions? Do you want students to submit with anonymity, which basically means that you won't know which student submits what? Do you want to hide the grader's identity from students? So you're basically, let's say you're on a course where you have your co-lecturer and your multiple lecturers. Do you want the students to not see who has marked their assignment? Okay, and further down we have restrict access because you can add restrictions by date, grade, group, user profile, and restriction set as it relates to who can access different assessments within Moodle. We'll look at that shortly. Okay, so I said for now we're satisfied that the assignment fields are properly filled out. So we're going to scroll down. Just going to click on save and return to course so you can see what that looks like. So I said before the dates are showing because I ticked the description box for the description or the dates to be shown visibly on the course page. So it is saying that this assignment is opened today, midday, but it is due Thursday, 29th of September at midday. So that is what it looks like to the student. All right. Once the assignment is clicked on, you see a little table. So of course they will see the instructions, right? As a lecturer, you see a little table which shows this assignment is not hidden from any student. It shows that there are 2 groups in the course. Okay, no groupings, 2 groups. There are no draft submissions. There are no submitted assignments, right? And why it is showing drafts and submitted as two different. So students can upload their assignment, but just save it. So that is where it's considered a draft. Probably the upload to save to probably edit your submission at some point. Right? Once it is submitted, that's the final received assignment, and they can resubmit because we didn't allow for additional attempts after the first submission. All right, and as mentioned before, it shows time remaining. If it is overdue, that will be indicated as well by the system. Now, in terms of grading, the quickest way to grade or to annotate a PDF submission from your student is to click on the grade button. So I'm going to open this in a new tab just to quickly show you an example of what it would look like. All right, so the PDF would be here. The PDF would be here. So you have all of these features to annotate. You have a highlighter, you can draw lines, you can insert colors. So all of that is here. You can zoom in if you wish to. You can zoom out. You can scroll up, scroll down side to side. All right. And then in the right panel now, we have the option of you giving the student the grade out of 100. So if it is 80, you can enter that here. If you scroll down, there's a feedback comments box. Dr. Barrett had made reference to this box. I'm not seeing any character limit here, but you can enter your text feedback. You can enter links if you want. You can do a voice over as a feedback comment. It could be a video table. You get to decide what you insert in the feedback comments box. All right. And at the top, you can change the user. So once you have annotated, you have made your comments, entered your grade, you scroll down, you can click on save changes. And of course, you want to notify the student. If you want to notify the student that their assignment was graded, you have to right? If you want to reset everything that you have done, you click on the reset button. If you want to save and move on to the next student, you click on save and show next. Or if you click on the drop down top right here, it will show you the different students in the class and it allows you to navigate and to click on the student submission that you want to assess. Right? And of course, I had selected to allow for group submission. So here it is saying, do you want to apply grades and feedback to the entire group? Yes or no? Because let's say John Brown submitted for his group, right? I would click on yes and save, and all students in that group would be notified and they would be able to see the grade and feedback received for their submission. All right, if it's multiple pages in the PDF document, see you get to switch from page to page, next page, previous page to navigate the PDF. Okay, Dr. Barrett, go ahead, please.
Okay, can you go back to that page with the group thing? Down, scroll down. I just want to. Okay, so on the previous page, when we were setting up this assignment, we had indicated groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's reflected here. Now, these are going to be groups specific to this class that I'm assigned, right?
Right, so all groups in the class, yes, in the course, yes.
In the court, well, reason why I'm trying to, if you have a larger group which has several teachers, lecturers teaching various, let's say, occurrences, right? The groups that I've assigned previously are only related to my class, right?
Right.
Okay, and so this box that says group submission. So one person out of the group submits the assignment. And once I've graded it, that assignment, and enter the grade for the assignment, there's a correlation, or should I say, thing. So once I've entered that grade, all grades slots for that particular group will be populated with the same exact grade.
Right, that's correct. So we're going to look at in terms of adding the groups to the grouping, because if we don't do that, then it's going to reflect. So as you had mentioned, you would have had multiple lecturers on the course, right? If it is that we don't specify and restrict access from a particular group or create the groups in the groupings, it will be for the entire class. But if this is for your groups only and the students submitting groups, let's say this is group A, where as I'm marking now, a student makes a submission on behalf of the group, I would be able to grade, give a comment, and it would be reflected to the entire group if it is that this is selected for yes.
Okay, so one final question. If there's a member of that group that needs to get a different grade because of whatever reason, am I permitted as the lecturer to go in and pick out that individual student name and override the grade which would have been populated previously?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Dr. Barrett. Yes. So in the grade book, you have the option of going in and overriding any student's grade. Any student's grade. So when you go in the grade book, you will see the option. So if you if you gave group A 100% and you left your feedback and comments and it's applied to all group, but you think a specific student did not deserve that mark or that feedback, you can go into the grade book, override the grade and the comment, and it will be reflected for that student only.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, and those are good questions. We will explore that in the gradebook training session to come. All right, good questions. Okay, so that's basically what the annotate PDF feature looks like, what the feedback comments feature looks like. In terms of the aesthetics of this, if it is that you wish to change how the windows appear, bottom right, you get to click and change the appearance. All right, so you see me just clicking and they're changing different window options. You can do that if you wish. Okay, so I would save my changes or save and show next, and it would move on to the next student for me to leave their feedback, comments, and grades. Now, what we want to look at next. Okay, do we have any other questions as it relates to the assignment tool before we move on to the groups and the groupings? Because I'm going to modify this same assignment for groupings. All right, do we have any additional questions? Any concerns, any uncertainties, sorry, as it relates to the assignment feature before we move on to groups and groupings? Okay, all right, if any arises, do let me know, please. Okay, all right, so we're back to the course main page. All right, and what we want to look at now is the groups and the grouping feature, because before we had this integration with the occurrences and the system automatically setting it up once the student registers for the course and all of that, it was easy for us in our courses to create the groups by ourselves for our students and just to assign the different activities to them. But because we have this new configuration, it is harder. If you don't know what to do, it can be frustrating. And I'm going to go ahead now and demonstrate a little fix, or something that you can do to prevent, well, two options that we can utilize to successfully allow your students alone to reach or to access your assessments, your assignments, well, activities rather, and resources in the course, same thing. Okay, so top right of the course, we're going to go down to more, which is the last option. All right, we're going to click on users. We're looking for the groups option. It's right here under users. Okay, we click on groups, and I pre-created these groups. All right, so we have an occurrence for Mrs. Anderson Tuesday 11, one for me Friday 11, another one for me Thursday 11. So this is just an example. Let's say the system already created these groups. We don't want to create them. The system created them already. How now can we create groupings to capture only our groups. This is very important. All right, because if you just select for group mode for all of your activities, then all the groups in the course would have access if you don't specify which groups you want to gain access to your assignments. Okay, so what I'm going to do, the groups are already there. I'm going to create two groupings. So to do that, I clicked on groupings, click on the button here that says create grouping. All right, and I am going to call this grouping A. All right. Okay, so this is grouping A. I'm gonna scroll down. I don't need to enter anything else. Just scroll down, click on save changes. We have grouping A. I'm gonna create another grouping, call it grouping B. Okay, scroll down and click on save. Okay, so we have two different groupings here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add two of my groups to grouping A and one of my group to grouping B. Okay, so to do that, I would click on the avatar icon here to the left or to the right rather of the grouping A. All right, so let's say I wanted to add these two occurrences to grouping A. I would select them both and click on add. Okay, so now it is showing me that two groups are in this grouping. Okay, gonna go back to groupings and it shows me that these groups are within grouping A. And remember, we go back to groups here, it actually shows us the names of the persons who are assigned to each group. Once we click on it, it shows us. All right, gonna go back to groupings, gonna add to grouping B by clicking on the same avatar icon. Okay, so let's say this is Mrs. Kamla Anderson's grouping and she wants to add her occurrence only to grouping B. Click on add. All right, so let's just imagine that we have the groupings with a whole heap of groups in them. Let's just for imagination purposes imagine that. Okay, what we would do now is go back to the main course page, find the activity that we want our students only to gain access to. To do that, go back to the same process of editing the settings of that particular assessment. I'm just going to scroll down to group where it says group submission settings. Okay, and okay, so what has happened here now? So it's good to actually do the setup before you create the assignment, because what happened is that initially I saved it for no grouping for students. So what has happened is that it is permanent with the none options. I'm just going to quickly add another assignment. All right, so it's good to have it set up before. So this is a test assignment. Go down to where it says group submission. Do you want students to submit in groups? You're going to click on yes to enable the different options. All right. Do you want group to make submission? Do you require that all group members submit? Grouping for student group. So this is where we're going to select the grouping. So now what I'm trying to say to you, if I select grouping A, what I'm basically saying is that only my students who I place in grouping A would be able to gain access to make their submission to this particular assignment. All right, so grouping A selected, I'm going to scroll down, click on save and return. Okay, and this is what it looks like, the test assignment. Okay, so it is showing that there are two groups. It shows you two groups that can make their submissions here because those two groups are a part of grouping A. Okay, so there's something else that you can use, which I'm going to show. All right, I heard a hand, but I'm not seeing a hand. Could you go again, whoever that was? All right, I thought I heard somebody raise their hand. All right, if not, I mean, throughout the session, you can re-raise. All right, So that is what that looks like. It shows that there are two groups who are part of grouping A who can make their submission to this particular assignment. Kindly note, this is not only for assignments. This can be done for other activities. It could be a forum, it could be a chat. For the other activities, this can be applied as well. Okay. If it is that you find it easier to restrict group access, you can do that. All right. So the assignment that we had created before, I'm going to edit the settings for it, and we're going to scroll down to restrict access. Remember, I was showing you can add restriction by group and no grouping because grouping is enabled in the course. Okay. So let's look at group first. If I click on the group feature, it is showing all the groups in the course. All right. So I can say that Michaela Peck's group must match this access enable, well, whatever access I am enabling, they should match that in order for them to gain access to this particular assignment. All right, I'll get to the hand shortly. Okay, I can add another restriction group. I can also say the second occurrence. So it is saying students must match this group. I'm going to change it to any. Must match this group or this group in order to gain access to this assignment. So what it is saying is that if you're not a part of OM1 and UM1, you cannot access this assignment. So I'm going to save it. All right. And here it tells you restricted, not available unless you are a part of OM1 or UM1. Okay. Let us, Dr. Barrett.
Okay, I'm trying to understand the difference between a grouping and a group.
Mm-hmm.
So my understanding is that the grouping is not under the control of the lecturer. That may be under the control of, let's say, ODL or the PD. Am I correct?
No, no. Mm-mm. The group is not under the control of the lecturer because at the end of the day, the system already configures the group for the course. The grouping is under the control of the lecturer because you're able to take your groups and to put them into other groups, which is what we call grouping.
Okay, bear with me. I have to make sure I understand. So a group could be a group of, say, 100 students, right?
Mm-hmm.
University course, let's say research methods, 100 students from all over the university. That's a group, right?
All right. So,
I'm just
all
using
right.
a theoretical, hypothetical situation here.
Well,
So,
no, I would say no. I would say no because that sounds very generalized. The groups are specific. So the example you just gave it
okay,
sounds
but
general.
maybe I don't want to take up my colleague's time, but
No, man, go ahead. Go ahead.
we have let me be very specific as it relates to this particular the entrepreneurship course ENT 3001 is what they call a university wide course over
Mm-hmm.
at best sometime 800 students. Okay,
Right.
is that would be the group?
Right. So that
Okay.
is the
uh,
course, but
right,
within the course, there are different groups because you have different lecturers who are teaching that same
right.
course. Right.
So the occurrences then in for the different lecturers is basically the group.
That's correct. Yes.
And so within, let's say I have three occurrences, right? That's I can now, as a lecturer for those three occurrences, group my students, and that's the grouping.
That's correct.
Okay, I think I got it
That's
now.
correct. That's correct. Hmm.
I hope I haven't
Okay.
confused anybody else. So the,
I don't think so because what you said was clear. Yeah, man, that breakdown is clear.
the larger group is of 800 is a group,
Right.
and the occurrences, are the occurrences, um groupings or group as well?
Groups. So really and truly, you have the groups, you have the different groups which spans 800 students. In your occurrence, you have your groups. So you have UM1 with Dr. Barrett, that is probably your group one. UM2, that is under your name, that is probably group two. So these are your groups. But the moment you group your groups into other groups, this is what we call groupings. So it's
All right. So
basically creating.
what you're demonstrating to us just now, in terms of the whole assignment, it would be the grouping level.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, got you.
All
I got
right.
it.
Okay. All right, no problem. Just quickly in the chat, okay, I think it's a personal message that I got. Okay. All right, I'm seeing in the chat that persons have to go, no worries. We'll be wrapping up shortly, I understand. The recording will be made available. Remember that you can always check the online training modules for the different recordings for each session. Okay, so I was at the point of demonstrating that this is saying this particular activity is not available unless the student belongs to this group or this occurrence or the UM1 online lecture Thursday occurrence. Okay, so what I just demonstrated is that you can allow your students to, based on the groupings you have put them in, gain access to a particular assessment, or you can restrict wherein they will not be able to gain access to the assessment unless they are a part of a particular group. So you get to set that up. So I'm gonna go in again, edit settings for this assignment here, scroll down, restrict access. This is a feature that we need to use a lot because what I realize that a lot of lecturers are doing, and this is why we try to highlight this so much in the sessions, is that lecturers are creating 5 assignments for 5 different groups, right? So what we can do, if it is that you want a particular set of groups to access a particular set of activities, what you do, you restrict the access for those groups. You click on add restriction. You can do it for the grouping. I just demonstrated for group. It's the same process. You click on grouping. The student must be in grouping B to gain access. All right, or it can be on the opposing end. They must not be a part of grouping B. All right, so if they're not a part of grouping B, then they won't be able to access. They will be able to access, sorry. All right, so student must be a part of grouping B, save and return to course, and it shows us here that it's not available to you unless you belong to a group in this particular grouping. All right, so if I click on this assignment, it shows me here that um, well, I guess it doesn't show us in here. It just shows on the outside that it is not available to you unless you belong to grouping B. Let me click on this one and see if it shows in here. So it doesn't show on the inside. It just shows on the outside here, that the student is not able to access unless they are a part of these particular groups or grouping. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and show you as well. So let's say the attendance register. I can edit the settings for this. I can scroll down, so it is there for basically all of the activities and resources. All right. It could be a PDF or a Word document that you only want a particular group of students to gain access to. You can do that. You just go to the restrict access feature, select the group or grouping, and you are basically set. Okay, so that is basically how you create the assignment, configure the assignment to the settings as you prefer or as needed. That is how you create the groupings. That is how you go through the process of adding different groups to the groupings, and then finally that is how you configure the assignment or any other activity to restrict access or to allow access based on the group or grouping within the course. All right. Today's session was recorded, will be uploaded to the training module. Um, that basically concludes today's session. Do we have any other burning question, any other concerns before we go? Miss Williams, take the mic.
Thank you, Miss Peck. Good afternoon, everyone. Question: you had made mention that the content that is placed on Moodle can be restricted for both lecturers and students. So when you group the students according to the currencies, uh, that does that also mean that the lecturers are prohibited from it as well? Because like
The
you're recording,
lecturers. Okay, so you're asking if the lecturers can't see as well.
yeah. So like you're recording
Right.
else.
Yeah. So the lecturers would be able to see. So the only thing that you probably would be able to do, because as a teacher, I don't think you have the option of how would I put it? As a teacher, I don't think you have the option of putting them in a group and also restricting access. So once you're in as a teacher, you're basically able to see everything. Where the restriction of access comes in handy is for the student. However, as the Office of Distance Learning, we do have that option of restricting lecturers from seeing certain things. That means a request you have never gotten before. Not saying it's a strange question or strange request. We have never received that request before, but it can be done, but just not by the teacher. Because as a co-lecturer on a course, you basically have the same rights as any other editing teacher. So yeah, I hope that answers the question, Miss Williams.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right. All right, Dr. Barrett.
Okay, Miss Beck, I'm going to crave your indulgence a little bit here because I am getting a little bit of a confusion here. But I'm going to walk you through an exact scenario and just tell me where am I going wrong. This course, as I mentioned, ENT 3001, university wide, within, and that's the group, right?
Right. So the
Or
different occurrences in the course would be the groups, yes.
so there are UM1, OM1, ON1, and OE2, etc., etc. Those are the respective groups
Right.
assigned to me.
Right.
Now, can I go in and establish a submission folder for the students as it relates to that are in my occurrences and put those students in groups?
Yes, yes, you can.
So within, let's say, UM1, which is now a group, I can have, let's say, 3 groups with each group having 4 students.
Yes.
And that will not impact on how my other colleagues may have set up their classroom as it relates to how it is. Because right now we just have, if you want to call it, one big setting, and you go in and you, let's say, click on the link that connects to your classes on, and on
Mm-hmm.
day each
Yeah.
day you just have to click on one, but they're different occurrences. And so my understanding is now each of those occurrences is a group, and I can then go in each occurrence and set up different student groups, and those students can now submit their assignment to me in those groups, and it will not affect my other colleague who may say, well, I am not going to set up any group. Students can just make their submission.
Okay. All right. Good question. So I am aware of the current setup um, in the entrepreneurship module and across many other modules, not just entrepreneurship. What happens is that I see the names of the lecturers, I see the different links. It is just set up, but no restriction is created. So what that basically means is that any student could submit to it, right? So if it
Oh,
is that no restriction is set up, then any student would be able to click on your Blackboard Collaborate link, enter into your live class, and so on and so forth, if no restriction is set up. So what today's session is demonstrating is how you can create the groupings to add your occurrences or your groups to the groupings to allow a particular set of students either to not gain access or to gain access.
I'm trying to process what you're saying because I
Right.
think I'm trying to
So
process. So the students in my class, once I set up those groupings for my class or my occurrence, no other student can submit an assignment to me, right?
no, no, they can't.
And
Once it is
so,
set up to restrict them, they can't.
okay, so the only students that will be able to submit and I be able to see and grade those assignments is the groups that I would have set up for the students in my class.
That's correct, Dr. Barrett. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to test it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to test it out right now because that my students have an assignment that's due in another 2 weeks. So I'm going to set it up from
Mm-hmm.
now, and if needs be, I'll send you an email. Either you or Miss
Yeah,
Anderson.
man.
Okay,
No
thank you.
problem. No problem. You're welcome. All right, Miss Williams.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry, Miss Williams.
Go
Just
ahead. Go ahead.
1 minute, Miss Peck. Can
Mm-hmm.
students be allowed to place themselves in groups?
With the okay, I'm not gonna tell you no. But I think that was disabled by the administrator for Moodle, which is not us. Yeah, but I know of that happening with other Moodle sites, but I think it is disabled for us.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Miss Williams.
Yes. Question. Do we use the assignment to like if you're posting your recordings to the students and then you're going to be placing them in groups by occurrences, do we use the assignment feature to do that? Or is there another feature that we use when we are posting the recordings and placing the students in groups? Just so
When you
that
say
those
posting recordings, you're referring to like a live session
the link
recording?
the link because like not everybody uses Blackboard, so if they're using Zoom and they're going to be sharing the link for class for that day with just their occurrence, which is their group alone, do we use the assignment
No, man. Mm-mm. So that's what I was saying earlier, that it is for any activity or resource. So it's not just for assignment. So look at this thing here. This is a reading list. If I click on edit settings and scroll down, I have the restrict access feature. It's tied to every resource and activity. So you upload the link as normal as you would as a URL or any other thing and just use the restrict access to add the restriction.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, no problem. All right, Dr. Barrett, is your hand raised?
Oh, sorry, I didn't take my hand down. I
Okay, that's all right.
take my hand down.
Okay. All right. So if it is that we have no additional questions, then I think it's safe to say we have come to the end of today's session. Thank you for attending. We have another session next week, Thursday, same time. Um, and well, probably might make it change it to two. Not sure in terms of availability because I realized that the attendance participant list is low at a certain time, but then sometimes at two it is low as well. So yeah, just trying to navigate the different days and times to best accommodate everyone.
Well,
Um,
to be honest, Miss Peck, it would be
mhm.
great if we could maybe move it a little bit. Because right now I'm in session with you guys because I think was so important. But I do have a class, So what I did was tell
Mhm.
my student, give them some reading assignment because I wanted to be here. So if it's possible for it to move to maybe what do you call it, the non-university hours, like three to five, 3 to 4. I don't know because it might be impinging on your time frame, but maybe like 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, because the sessions normally last 1 to 1.5 hours. So we could
right,
explore the
right.
2:30 time.
Yeah,
Mm,
2:30 to what, 4?
four,
I,
right?
yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a conflict because there's always something happening at the university. But, you know, when we have the 12 o'clock sessions, it does impose on time, class time,
Okay.
please.
Okay. And the last session we had at 2, we had a lot of lecturers saying, we have to leave now, we have a class at 3, but I mean, there's always gonna be a clash. Let us explore the 2:30 hour
Right.
and see how it works for next week. All right.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank
man.
you.
All
This was
right. You're
very happy.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So take care, everyone, and thanks so much for attending. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Respect. Thank
you.
you,
You're welcome.
Mrs. Anderson, for a very informative and useful session as usual.
You're welcome, Mr. Panther.
Thank you very much, Miss Peck. Thank you. Have a nice day.